Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar. We'll then run through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and temperature over the next 5 days. As in the north and west it's going to be quite unsettled, a lot of rain around, but for the south and the east we're going to continue to see some more dry weather. It could be very warm, perhaps even hot, with temperatures perhaps peaking in a few spots in around 30 to 31 degrees. We'll then have a look at the mid to longer range, looking at what's happening from the GFS, GM, ECMWF and the Ensembles. This does look like a cooler air mass will spread all the way through the country by the end of this working week. But it does look like in the medium to longer range, as we head into the middle of August, things could be turning much drier widely and potentially much warmer, if not hotter, maybe even seeing something like a widespread traditional sort of British heat wave, temperatures in around that 30 degrees. There is some uncertainty. Some of the models are a little bit backtracking from the longevity of the high pressure and how warm the air mass does get, but still the majority of the ensembles are well above average, with dry, warm, perhaps even hot weather incoming for the middle of August. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in description. So if we do start on the live radar, you can see most areas are dry at the moment, apart from Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, with a big mass of rain pushing in ahead of much warmer air we do have ahead of it, being brought up by the low pressure system and temporarily giving us very warm weather today, tomorrow and even into Wednesday for some in the far south and east. But along this weather front, some very heavy torrential rain is moving in. Now we continue to track eastwards over the coming hours, again dropping the predominant amount of rain across northern and western areas, but still some areas further eastwards and southwards where it has been still quite dry may get a little bit of a sprinkling from this, but I'm expecting the areas that are not too dry at the moment to get the majority of the rain. Now, if you look at the 2 metre temperatures, you can see for many southern and eastern areas, it's very warm. Temperatures in around the mid to maybe even high 20s. As I said, maybe even peaking in 30 degrees over the next couple of days. And that's because we have warm air ahead of the weather front. Across the Republic of Ireland and North Ireland, much cooler temperatures in the low to mid teens, maybe high teens in a few spots. And you can see this stark temperature contrasts, and that's why we got the weather front with the heavy precipitation. And it, as I said, it's going to slowly progress eastwards over the coming hours, giving rain further eastwards and for most of Scotland and North England and parts of Wales as well. But for southern areas and eastern areas, it's going to remain warm, perhaps even still quite hot, as I said, over the next few days. For all areas turn cooler on the back side of the low, we will see cooler air coming in from the north. So if we do look at the UKV, looking at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. Now earlier today you can see not much precipitation around at all, but as we progress through the day and head into the afternoon and the evening, you can see that precipitation heading in quite heavy, maybe even some thundery weather behind it, some thundery showers there. As it progresses eastwards, all areas to the north and the west getting heavy precipitation. Wales, Northern England, all of Scotland, all of Republic and Northern Ireland getting heavy precipitation. A lot of rain falling there. Could be a good half inch there for quite a few areas. But it doesn't track particularly southwards and eastwards. There could be a little bit of precipitation for the early hours of tomorrow, through some areas in East Anglia, maybe through the Midlands, maybe in southern England could get a little bit of rain, but nothing massive at all. As we head through Tuesday morning, some more widespread showers, thundery showers could develop through the Midlands, East Anglia, maybe creeping into central southern England, maybe the London areas as well, but it will be really hit and miss whether we do see that. But areas avoiding that precipitation and thicker cloud will see temperatures really rise back into the high 20s, maybe touching on 30 degrees. As we head into Wednesday afternoon, you can see again the centre of the low is moving through Scotland. That's why we've got some more persistent rain there. Elsewhere, showery, bit of clouds around, especially for the southwest. Could be seeing some more precipitation there, which will be good for the dry ground. And as we head towards the peak hours of the day, some heavy, maybe thundery showers breaking out through central England, maybe into the London area, East Anglia, Essex, central southern England. Could see a few heavy showers, but we have seen similar charts to this over the last 5 days or so and seen minimal precipitation. So we'll just have to see if that does come off, but it will still be warm where we avoid that precipitation. As we head towards Thursday, you can see much more clear skies moving through, but lots of pop-up showers. That shows a change in air mass, a much cooler, unstable northerly flow. Now, it's not going to be massively cold, and it's not going to be massively unsettled, but a little bit more showery, especially in the north, and cooler conditions. Temperatures back towards, if not slightly below average for Thursday, and that will continue into Friday with that cooler air sinking through all areas for eventually another weather front approaches from the west, and that is going to be eventually shunted away by high pressure in from the south. It's going to build in our warmer, drier weather for the middle of August. Uncertainty, as I said, exactly how that does develop at this stage, but very likely we'll see high pressure with at least above average temperatures, well above average, at least for a few days there, moving around that 10th of August time. Now, if you look at the max temperatures, as I said, the temperatures this afternoon peaked in around that sort of high 20s mark in a few spots, 26, 27, maybe 28 degrees locally. Elsewhere across the Rutland Island and Northern Ireland, back towards mid-teens, low teens for some, maybe even high teens in a few spots. So big temperature contrast where we see that precipitation cloud, where we see the sunshine. As we head through to Tuesday afternoon, you can see those temperatures once again rising in and around that mid to high 20s in a few spots, touching maybe 30 degrees towards Essex, East Anglia, where again we avoid the thicker cloud and the rain. It's going to be one of these scenarios where if you see a bit of cloud around, it's going to hold those temperatures down to low, maybe mid 20s. You see beautiful sunshine come out like we have seen in many areas. Today, we'll see those temperatures really skyrocket with quite warm upper air conditions towards 28, 29 or 30 degrees. And that's very similar as we head into Wednesday. Still could reach 27, 28, maybe 29 or 30 degrees in somewhere. But the UKV has a bit of precipitation, as we saw on the charts a minute ago, through central areas that could prohibit temperatures there. But it will be very dependent on shower activity, whether it does develop or not on Wednesday afternoon. As we head Thursday, a little bit cooler, but still mid-20s is possible. You can see much cooler further northwards, back down towards mid-teens for many. And by Friday, that cooler air mass is sweeping through most areas. And you can see dropping down to maybe 22 to 24 degrees in the south, back more towards average. And again, Saturday will be even cooler. And you can see it's because of the upper air temperatures. Look at that. Still hanging on to maybe 6 or 7 degrees in the far southeast. But once that much cooler air mass does spread through all areas, by the weekend, we'll all be in those high teens, maybe touch up on the low 20s. And the reason why we could see 30 degrees widely tomorrow in the south and east, where we see sunshine, is because the upper air temperatures getting to around 14 or 15 degrees at 850 HPA, which is very warm. It would be widely high 20s, low 30s, because it's more of an unstable air mass associated with lower pressure. There's a bit more cloud around, some more showers bubbling up, so it does hold the temperatures down from being a widespread, really warm and hot day. So locally tomorrow, a few spots 29, 30 degrees, widely mid-20s with a very warm upper air conditions, but only lasting a couple of days. So if we do now have a look at the mid to long range start on the GFS run, a little bit uncertain with the GFS run today because it does go much more unsettled in the long term, quite a bit more than we've been seeing with the run recently. But the run is in stark contrast to the midnight run last night, so the run previous to this, which goes incredibly hot. Now, I would probably favour it going very warm, maybe heatwave conditions, not quite incredibly hot at this stage, but I definitely don't think it's going anywhere near unsettled and as cool as this run is going. So GFS a little bit all over the place, but we'll run through the 6 o'clock run and the midnight run, then we'll have a look at the various models and the ensembles as well to sort of give it what are the chances at this stage. So you can see low pressure running in at the moment. And then you can see it does pull through over the next few days, eventually giving a northerly wind, a bit of a cooler air mass before high pressure builds in. But the high pressure only stays around for a short period of time, maybe a few days, before low pressure runs back in with a cooler air mass and doesn't really give it time to warm up at all. So it does temporarily go a little bit warm, but nothing substantial at all. We actually go quite unsettled, cool and sort of north to northwesterly in terms of wind direction. It would be quite unsettled, thundery, and I'm sure we'd see a lot of precipitation quite widely with the centre of those lows, even in coming into parts of England, which would give a lot of precipitation quite widely. And again, you look at the upper air temperatures for that, and you can see it's not amazingly hot. There is hot air to our south, but we're tapping into a lot of this cooler air that's originating over Greenland, so around 0 to 5 degrees at 850 HPA, which is not particularly cold air mass, but for this time of year it is pretty cold, with most of the air masses around 10 degrees plus around our sort of latitude. So yeah, very interesting seeing that from the GFS for the 6 o'clock run. But if we do compare it to the midnight run, and if we do start on the upper air temperatures, you'll be able to see that we do go westerly over the next couple of days, brief burst of warmth. As you can see, that's why the temperatures could get into the high 20s, low 30s over the next couple of days, for eventually we do see that northerly wind come in, slightly cooler upper air temperatures, before high pressure builds back in. And we start to see those low pressures deflected much further northwards, and we start to waft up really hot southerly winds. And it's not quite as hot at this stage as the middle of July, not 40 degrees, but it would be high 20s, low 30s, widely, maybe even mid 30s for some in the south around that 10th of August with the 20-degree isotherm coming in, would be mid 20s, as I said. Beyond that, eventually we do try and see low pressure push in, but we stay very warm and dry. Nothing exceptional, nothing like mid 20s upper air temperatures, but it would give temperatures, surface conditions around the mid 30s. So a typical very hot heat wave for the UK for low pressure runs in and gives us unsettled thundery weather as the heat breaks down. But if we do run it back and just have a look at what that could equate to at the surface, we go to the United Kingdom, look at the 2 meter temperatures, you can see for Wednesday, the 10th of August, mid-30s, 35, 36. It would actually be quite exceptional there. Probably misread those upper air temperatures a little bit a minute ago. But yeah, it would be very, very hot. Mid to high 30s would be exceptional hot air mass a few years ago. Very hot conditions. Would be touching on record-breaking temperatures, but considering our record is 40 degrees, very unlikely to be broken here. And you can see it continues over the respective days. Mid-30s, 35 to 37 degrees widely. So very, very hot. And we see that continue on the 12th, 36, 37 degrees, and onto the 13th, we're continuing 36, 37 degrees. So it's sustained very warm, if not hot, very hot air mass really, but not quite as hot as the middle of July. It would be an exceptional spell. Well, this would be all the headlines if this did come off, and it probably still would make headlines, but it's not quite as hot as the middle of July. I can't be even saying that mid to maybe even high 30s is not going to be the most extreme sort of conditions we'd seen this summer. It really is quite record-breaking this summer so far, and could continue if we do see something like this. Could bring me an exceptionally hot August, and we continue that into the 14th. Getting towards maybe 38 degrees locally, so we could even threaten 39 or 40 degrees with the heat building before eventually it does break down around the 15th of August. So it does continue to look pretty warm on some of these runs, but I do think the most likely scenario is those upper air temperatures being more around the 15-degree mark at 850 HPA, which would give temperatures around the high 20s, low 30s. Again, this is a very hot GFS run, but I do think it is a little bit of an outlier. So if you are looking forward to some very hot weather, I don't think we're going to be seeing this. It's quite unlikely at this stage. Most on-top members are a few degrees cooler, but still think hot, high 20s, low 30s widely is very much quite a decent possibility at this stage. Now, if we do look at the GM, see how that does compare. Again, low pressure running over the next few days, high pressure eventually building in, and we do waft up warmer air masses from the south, and you can see it's not too bad. Upper air temperatures around that 10 to 15 degree mark, so again, widely high 20s, maybe even touching on that 30 degree mark. So pretty decent, warm, maybe even hot conditions. That's the sort of run that I would expect and that we've seen consistently. And again, if we do zoom into the United Kingdom, look at the 2 meter temperatures and do zoom in. You can see for the 10th of August, you're seeing those temperatures high 20s, maybe touching 30 degrees, 28, 29, 30 degrees, as I said. So I think that's the most likely scenario, quite a decent heat wave, but we are seeing the potential for something exceptionally hot from the GFS midnight run today. Now, if we do have a look at the ECMWF, see how that does compare, you can see, again, low pressure running in before high pressure eventually settles in around the middle of August, and we continue to turn very warm, if not quite hot. It does look like potentially temporary northerly flow can move in. That could introduce a temporary cooler air mass there. You can see slightly cooler air mixing in, but it generally still looks like upper air temperatures around 10 to 15 degrees at 850 HPA through the middle of the month, which, as I said, would give temperatures in the mid to high 20s, maybe low 30s. So still very warm, and you can see still getting a touch above average, 4 to maybe 6 degrees above average. So warm, if not quite a bit hot, could be even reaching heat wave thresholds on this ECMWF run. Now, if we do finish the video by having a look at the ensembles, you can see this latest GFS, the 6 o'clock run. You can see the 6 o'clock operational run there is very much all over the place. It's one of the hottest runs around the 10th of August, and the coolest run around the 11th and 12th, so very much not following what the ensembles are. Most ensemble members are warm over the next couple of days, slightly cooler air mass around the 5th, 6th, 7th of August, before trending above average around the 8th, 9th and 10th, and staying well above average throughout the middle of August, around 10 to 15 degrees at 850 HPA. As I said, would produce temperatures around the mid to high 20s, maybe low 30s in the far south. There are some exceptionally hot runs there, but the majority, as I said, are around that 15 degree mark, 10 to 15 degree mark, which is above average, threatening heat wave levels. You can see, though, most are extremely dry. very little precipitation, and the precipitation we have seen over the last few days hasn't been too much. It's been probably a little bit lower than the models have made it out to be, unfortunately. We were kind of hoping the models were underdoing the precipitation a bit, but it has seemed like especially the UKV has overdone it a little bit. And some of these thundery outbreaks we've seen forecasted from the model haven't really come off, and the precipitation has been much less widespread and much less intense than we initially anticipated. Now, if we do have a look at the midnight run, you can see the operational run there well off the scale. So again, big outlier. I wouldn't look too much into it, but it is a possibility. There are some runs going for it, but it still does look very warm, if not quite hot. It's not complete outlier, it's not complete pattern change. It's just shifting that hotter air a few hundred miles further northwards than most of the ensemble members are doing. Now, if we finish, we'll have a look at the ECMWF. Again, very similar, and you can see none of these out-of-the-world runs getting above 20 degrees at 850 HPA. Very similar to the majority of the GFS ensembles. The ECMWF ensembles have been a little bit more pessimistic over the last few days, but they very much look like they're sort of trending very similar to the GFS now. Warm over the next couple of days, turning much cooler around the 5th to 7th of August at the end of this working week into the weekend, and then turning above average around the 8th, 9th of August, and staying well above average by a few degrees throughout the middle of August, with upper air temperatures peaking around that 10 to 15 degrees at 850 HPA, very warm. Heat wave like levels likely to be reached in the south, and precipitation is very low, so it's going to be hot and dry, because we can get these warm upper air temperatures like we have right now. For some areas it's not going to be anything spectacular the next couple of days because there's precipitation around, because there is low pressure in the north. This sort of scenario will very much be high pressure dominated, so everyone pretty much, maybe bar the far north of Scotland, because low pressure always likes to push in there, because we're of course close to the jet stream this time of year. Most other areas will be very dry, warm, if not hot, maybe hitting and exceeding heatwave thresholds across the country. So 25 degrees further northwards, 28 degrees towards the London area through Cambridgeshire, the Midlands, around that sort of 26, 27 degrees elsewhere. So it does look like it's going to be warm over the next couple of days for some, precipitation further north and westwards, turning cooler towards the end of this week, showery in the north, but by this time next week we could be starting to head towards quite a prolonged warm, if not hot spell, which could culminate in a heat wave. Again, it's too far away to say exactly what those temperatures are going to be, but the ballpark does look like mid to high 20s, maybe into the 30 degrees, and as I said, the heat wave thresholds for areas in London is 28 degrees, so it is highly possible we do reach those heat wave thresholds, and of course to get an official heat wave we need that for 3 consecutive days, which looks possible if we do see those upper air temperatures come in, because we do have high pressure dominating. So it does look very warm, potentially in the longer term. Hopefully that GFS run doesn't come off, as that would be oppressively hot. It would be sort of 5 days straight of mid to high 30s, so fingers crossed that doesn't come off. But it is a possibility and we can't completely discount it, but I'd say it's a very low chance, most likely high 20s, low 30s through the middle of August, and continuing very dry. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.